Wait, you're eating a fillet of fish with orange high C? Are you a fucking serial killer? What is wrong with you?
Welcome back, everyone, to S1E1, a show where each week we pick a different sitcom, watch just the first televised episode, and forgetting anything we might know about the feature run of that show, rate and decide if it's a show we want to greenlight or cancel. Today we're going to be talking about the Hotwives of Orlando. Hotwives went 14 episodes over 2 seasons on Hulu. Today we're talking about episode 1, which is called Meet the Hotwives, originally airing July 15th, 2014. So to get things started, I'm Jay Gags. With me, as always, the boys, most of them, Nick, Joe, and Gordo. What's going on, guys? No Ferg this week.
Heyo.
COMCUM.
It's a Goo Goo Boy episode.
This is a cum heavy episode. I believe there's also some poop talk in here though.
Nah, not as much. This is a cum boy.
I'm glad because the Goo Goo Boys reign supreme, and you're down one tonight, Nick.
I know.
Gordo's a flipper. He's like, we've said it before. We know where his heart really is.
Yeah, Gordo just likes the name Goo Goo Boys.
Yeah,
I do.
but no one likes fart and poop humor. That I know legitimately in life more than Gordo.
Yeah.
How is there not a Goo Goo Boys shirt on here yet, guys?
Time.
Oh, right, because all of our lives are fucking insane. Yeah.
Really quick before we get too tangenty in the beginning, Joe, I thought your opening line was going to be, "Hey, baby, I want to eat your dick."
There was a lot in this one. The one that resonated the most with me as a real person was I grew up on TV and I'll die on TV. Like that one made so much sense to my cable boy brain, but I figured if I didn't use the cum joke, you know. Also, and I train in the butt was in the running as well, which was a pretty good line.
I feel like, side note, write that down. My cable boy brain could be the name of a song.
Jay, do you still, before we get into it, obviously, do you still hate Kristen Schaal for no reason?
I was better with her in this than in most things, but historically, and it's not even like a fault of hers, something about her just like
I like her in everything.
would trigger
She's
me
so
for whatever
funny.
reason.
She's hysterical.
I don't even know who that is, but I probably don't like her.
She was Amanda on this show. Well, real quick though,
I don't like her.
before we get too far ahead, welcome everyone. This is week 2 of our Ladies of the Office month. So each week for November, we're doing a woman from the Office's show outside of the office. So last week we did Jenna Fisher splitting up together. This week we're doing Angela Kinsey was one of the Hotwives. So,
And if you're wondering if maybe you're new to us, we have not done The Office yet. So
no,
this is a bit strange.
Also, what we think about as a bunch of big Office fans and a couple of people who haven't ever seen it, Gordo, the Australian Office is streaming in every country in the entire world but America. So there's no way for us to even fucking see it.
no, there's no way for you to see because you don't know how to use computers. I can watch it right now if I want.
There's no way to legally watch The Office Australia in the US. I'm sure if I got a VPN maybe, and
You have a
have
VPN.
one.
We have a VPN. We use one for the...
all right, well, someone teach me how to fucking use it and I'll watch the show and I'll report back.
all right, I'll show you how. Anyways, yeah, so I want to just get into real quick also. I said 14 episodes, 2 seasons. Technically, the Hotwives went 2 seasons. Season 1 is the Hotwives of Orlando. There's season 2 is the Hotwives of Las Vegas, where they kind of flip things. Most of the people who are in this show come back for season 2 as different characters, though.
I will say this too. Sometimes people will reach out to us and be like, hey, like you guys talk about Mantis. You should do an episode about Mantis. And we're like, oh, we'd love to, but it's not a sitcom. Well, I guess fuck me. We can do anything now because this is not a fucking sitcom, by the way.
Really? Hold on. Let me go to Hotwives Wikipedia.
This is not a fucking sitcom. This is a parody that plays exactly like a reality show. There's no sitcom in this. It's just funny version of it.
Is there comedy and is it situational? Situation, there's going to be a party and all the girls are going.
Situational means episode to episode, not the entire thing necessarily, because that's not a situation, that's a plot.
That is a situation.
That would be like saying, though, that an episode of The Real Housewives of Insert Your City Here, if it was funny to you that week, would be a sitcom.
No.
Yes, because it's all this is. It's a funny version of one of those
This
shows.
is intentional. It's intentional funny.
So are those shows. Like those are all scripted.
Well, but this is obviously more in that mockumentary genre, but we've done mockumentary within like the sitcom space.
I will happily sit on the fence on this one because I don't know. Joe might be right, but I also lean towards like this is a written and produced sitcom that looks like a reality show.
Yeah, it's in parody of, but is not actually.
I'm trying to come up with something we've done that's in a similar vein.
Parks and Rec.
No,
It's
Modern
actually way more
Family.
sitcom-y.
Yeah.
I don't know, honestly. It's definitely unique, for sure. I'll give you that. But I don't know if I would go as far as saying that this is definitely not a sitcom, though.
I mean, to talk about The Office itself, The Office in theory is a mockumentary, which is not set up like a standard sitcom
That's way different.
because it's more something you like.
Yeah, but a mockumentary is a parody on a documentary. Reality TV is not really a documentary. It's just... I'll see. All right, now I don't know, because it kind of is, I guess, but...
The Office is a sitcom. It follows the rules of a sitcom. It just then cuts to talking heads. This follows the rules of a reality show and doesn't break from those.
What rules would you say The Office follows that this doesn't?
The Office sets up situations and pays them off and has multi-threaded things going on with characters that flow through that aren't based on the inner ramblings of people. Like, it's not about what they're saying and then doing. It's written to be everybody around this is happening and we're watching it. Not everything is part of the show for the reality of the TV.
I feel like Gordo's talking right now, Joe. This is the most Gordo sentence you've ever had.
That was very Gordo.
You just heard what's happening in the background. I'm a little fried right now. Okay.
It's just, I don't know. Like, I mean, listen, obviously this is more focused up around the idea of it being just straight parody of like the Real Housewives, right? Which is like the Bravo show. However, I mean, it's a comedy show. There is a basic story. Tawny is having a charity event at her house for, we'll get into it, and all the other girls are going, and can they get along? And that is essentially still a plot and a script and like how that unfolds.
Yeah.
Sure. And I don't want to be misconstrued here that I don't think there's funny parts, or I genuinely love everybody in this cast. Everybody in this is in stuff that I love. I think they're all great. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I don't think this functions to me as a sitcom. It functions as a comedy, but it doesn't function as a sitcom.
See, I think like we go back with a lot of the other shows we've covered, and we've obviously openly admitted sometimes we miss the mark on what falls into sitcom. Like, as long as, I think most importantly, as long as we're kind of following comedy, I think it works more. But we look at shows we've covered in the past, like,
if it's a half hour and it's a comedy, we'll look at it at least,
like, is this more a sitcom than Baskets? I think so, which was a show I really liked.
Baskets is a drama comedy, I guess, but I was thinking there's a show that the third season actually started this week, which is Antoine, who plays the
party planner in here?
The party planner. It's his show, and oh god, what's his name? He just passed away. Who was in Lucky Louie, who's like the friend who like
Mike Haggerty?
Mike Haggerty is in it as well. Any place, anywhere, someplace, somewhere. I forget what it's called, but
someplace, sometime.
Is that what it is? Yeah.
Someplace. Yeah, I've seen it too. We've talked about it before.
Yeah.
I was just looking it up actually because I couldn't remember the name of it either. But yeah, it's hysterical.
Drama-ish, but it's a half an hour, very funny comedy where I feel like that now would fall into something we could cover if we're covering this.
Somebody somewhere.
Somebody somewhere. Thank you.
I don't want to go too far before we get into the episode, so I just want to go over a couple things real quick. IMDb has this at a 7.5. Rotten Tomatoes has it with a critic score 85%, audience score 83%. Pretty well received amongst its audience.
I mean, I can see that.
Again, it's all fucking hilarious people involved in it, right? Like, it's not going to not be funny or hit the button. I think the issue is this is probably way funnier or lands way better if you have familiarity with that type of show.
Yeah, we've also discussed too, obviously mentioned earlier, Ferg's not here. Ferg loves watching trash television like that. He won't admit to watching as much of it as he does. He'll say, no, I just like a couple shows.
Yeah. It's every one of them.
This is more his space. I think he would have been a good aid for this episode. He was saying like earlier, like right before we record, he's like, a lot of these people are like direct parodies of some of the people from those shows. But like I said to him in our chat. I was like, this means nothing to me though, because I don't know who those people are, so I don't know how to interpret it.
You know, it would be really. I almost did a side for this podcast, like a side, like quick, like Instagram reel, because I don't know if you guys have ever heard of the Real Bros of Simi Valley.
No.
But the main character is Jimmy Tatro, who you may know from, he was like most recently in like Bert Kreischer's movie as like young Bert Kreischer. But yeah, also American Vandal was like his big movie or series. But it follows like this same thing. But the problem is Jimmy Tatro like entirely did it on his own to start. So like the first season is just like 6-8 minute episodes. So it's like nothing we could do here to cover because it's just too short. So it would be interesting to cover, but it's the same exact thing. It's just...
Are you kidding? That sounds like a dream show for us to cover only 8 minutes long.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do it if you want. But it's just like way over-exaggerated versions of just these bros who live in Southern California and just all these like fake problems that they have. It's hysterical, but we can't cover it. So we might have to do some like sort of side thing for it. But it follows. It's very similar to this is my point.
Yeah, I think other people have done things. I think there's multiple if you really search like the real blank of blank, you know, like there's a few of these out here. But this was a show that I definitely didn't know existed. I don't know about you guys. I had no idea.
I've heard of it, but because I don't know any person from television ever outside of like Lucille Ball, I didn't bother watching it.
Yeah, it was a Hulu original too, so it's not like it was out everywhere. But this was a show, 2014, this basically, Angela does this like as soon as The Office is over.
Yeah.
I think that's why I heard of it.
Do you think the name was a hindrance? Because like imagine you're going through listings through Hulu, right? And you see the Real Housewives of Orlando. Your brain sees Real Housewives and you just keep fucking going if you don't like that stuff, you know?
I'll say this, when you're trying to Google it to find like, to peel back, I like to have a downloaded copy on the computer because then it's easier for us to watch whenever. And then also like I usually on our Instagram, S1E1 pod, if you guys can give us a follow, I like to post clips. So for that reason, I need to have an editable copy of the video. And this is the first time that we covered something that is actively out on a streamer right now that had a DVD release that was nowhere to be found on the internet, on any movie website, on any torrent. There was no way on earth to find this. It was insane.
Yeah, but somehow Jay ended up with 8 volumes of the Hotwives of Orlando.
Hey, you know computer. What? You Google Hotwives and what comes up comes up.
Not incognito, of course.
No, never.
Yeah, that's why you need incognito, because your Google algorithm knows you now too.
It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, this was a show that I didn't know about. Probably saw it flicking through Hulu a million times. I didn't even realize that it was a comedy show and just thought it was a Real Housewives type of show that I had no interest in.
I think the name's a hindrance.
Yeah, it could be. But it's also tough. Like, how do you do it in a way to make it obvious? Unless you're just really promoting it, how do you parody it in a way that you're gonna not trick people? You know,
I think that's the problem was the name, and they stayed way too close to the source material. You know, like they didn't put us. You know, the more I think about it, the more I agree with Joe. They didn't put a sitcom spin on this enough. This is
a tough episode. Let's get into it. But basically, this whole episode is they're trying to introduce you to the characters, and I think the emphasis on that just kind of takes away from time to really get into like a thicker storyline, which I feel like future episodes would have more opportunity to do. But let's just get into it, right?
Sure.
So it starts off like any other reality show like this, and you're seeing exterior shots to kind of like make the area seem glamorous, and there's clips and narration. The narration's by Paul Scheer, who we'll see way at the end of this. And he's one of the creators of the show. So he's one of the guys on top of this.
I will say immediate laugh when they immediately mentioned is Mario Lopez. When that is your like go-to for who says Florida is good, you're like, man, Florida, what the fuck?
Mario Lopez once said, Orlando is the most glamorous city in the world.
It is not.
This is a Ferg show. That's Ferg's paradise.
We've all been to Orlando. Gordo lived in Florida for a while, but Ferg goes to Orlando specifically.
No. No, Ferg goes to Disney World. Ferg doesn't go to Orlando.
Ferg doesn't go to Orlando.
By proxy, he goes to Disney. He goes to Orlando like 17 times a year. He is the person who would be an expert on this.
That's why and no offense to any of our listeners who live in the Orlando area, but this is why Ferg's perception of Orlando is so different than what it actually is, because he's strictly a Disney guy.
It's the greatest place on earth.
And he doesn't understand that it's just a giant swamp with some theme parks in it.
Yeah.
But there is some fun too. You're at a bar and they're like, hey, this bar also sells liquor to go. Like, not like a cup to go. Like, oh, do you need like an 18 of High Life on the way out? Like, what a great fucking concept, Florida. It's like, you got that right at least.
You could say the same about Las Vegas, right? It's like Las Vegas is great, right?
The only other location, the Hotwives.
Yeah, right. And then, but when you realize that outside of the strip, it's just a fucking, dive bar desert, and a real desert too. It's a little different. So yeah, I mean, I've spent time for work in just like the undesirable parts of Orlando too, and it's not. I mean,
I lived about 40 minutes outside of Orlando, so I would go in regularly. It's not Disney.
Imagine taking a 40-minute drive to go somewhere cool, but then the cool place you go to is Orlando, and you're like, I drove 40 minutes to end up in fucking Orlando, and that's the destination for the day? Fuck me.
Yeah, we're seeing like cutaway scenes, and it's basically this whole intro is we're getting the Paul Scheer narration, kind of introducing to the show, while we're getting these cut-in clips of the reality quote unquote show we're about to see, to kind of give you that vibe for what's to come. He's saying that it's a town of great romance, fabulous parties, classy women, and all the clips that are kind of cutting in are showing you that all these things are not quite right and how trashy everything is.
And all the giant, like, McMansion houses.
But they do, like, portray it like, when we look at these characters, it is good looking. Like, the wives are, like, beautiful women and living in beautiful homes. It's not, we're talking about Orlando, about how it's like a swampland, but that's not what it's being portrayed as. Because I feel like other parodies go the opposite, where they're doing the Real Housewives thing, but they're trying to show you, like, if it was like the Real Housewives of Boston, it would be, you wouldn't see these beautiful, gorgeous women in mansions. It would be like the typical Boston parody, right? It'd be like, I'm heading to Dunkies right now to get my order.
Yeah, it would be the Southie triple decker.
I've talked about it before. Jeff, a listener of the show, and I had our show we were pitching for years, The Real House Girlfriends of Downtown Crossing, which would actually be a very representative nightmare Boston.
What was the show we did based in Boston? They lived in the triple decker. What?
Yeah, the McCarthy's.
Yes, the McCarthy's. Okay, yeah. But I think you talked about that on that show.
Yeah, there's also a Boston reality show based on one of these things that lasted for just like 6 episodes. That was Finding Southie, something like that. It was everything you'd imagine it was. And it was like, we're a family who lives in a triple decker and our girlfriends come over. Like, it was so fucking pushed to the extreme, and it was terrible. It was on like A&E maybe around this time.
I remember the show in concept that it was supposed to happen, but like as far as any follow through seeing it, I never. After this intro, we're meeting all the characters one by one, as if it's still part of the intro. Like, you see them like kind of doing like their turn to camera with the, CGI background behind them, and their names are popping up. And we're meeting Veronica first, who she's all about class, style, and sophistication. And also, I'm not wearing any underwear. So like, you're getting like the,
yeah.
There's going to be a little joke kind of tagged to everyone. Crystal's Angela Kinsey's character, and she's the more religious one. So when they cut to her, it's like, the Lord is my savior, my husband is king, and my body is redonkadonk.
Yeah, everybody gets like a quote thing.
Yeah, I just thought it was funny that they brought over the religious part of her, especially when she'd just come off of being Angela, as she was also very God friendly. I wonder if that was part of this casting, maybe, but
she's wearing such a hilariously large cross.
Like blinged out cross.
The whole episode too, yeah, that's so funny. She's like wearing the size of the cross that like Ozzy wore in Black Sabbath. Like, it's just so over the fucking top.
We got Kristen Shaw's characters next. That's Amanda. She was that's the line Joe said earlier, that she was the child star. She grew up on TV and plans to die there.
Plums are my friend.
She was yeah, like her storyline was good. She actually is the sister of Crystal on this one too.
I feel like they didn't do a good enough job of saying that in the beginning, and like halfway through I was like, oh wait, they're sisters? Like, I feel like they maybe should have said that a little more explicitly in the beginning part of this.
Or they should have been on the same like turn. I don't even know what kind of shot you call it.
And I'm her sister, Crystal. Like, yeah, they could have done something.
Yeah, like, look out, here's Double, and I'm Trouble. Like, we're sisters.
Then we got Shauna, who's I don't know, she's supposed to be like a Jersey or like New York export.
I mean, I even got Boston vibes out of her sometimes. Like, I don't know what her deal is.
It's just a muddled Northeast Italian accent. Yeah.
She's played by Danielle Snyder. She's one of the other creators of the show.
It's the transplant because those people live there as well.
Oh, Florida. Yeah, mostly now. Florida's just half like New York, Boston. We got Fei Fei. Fei Fei is the one who always speaks her mind. And my mom thinks you're ugly.
I thought that was a funny line.
Finally, it's Tawny. I feel like Tawny is kind of presented as the main one. I mean, at least in this episode, the story focuses around her, so we're seeing the most of Tawny.
Yeah, and I feel like probably as the show progresses, each one will get their own, like...
They might all have, like, a focus, yeah.
Yeah, like, just because this episode takes place, or the final destination is her party, I feel like she's heavy in the episode. Another SNL person, too. A lot of SNL and, like, UCB people in this.
I would venture to guess that there's a lot of improv going on in some of these too. So,
for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
like Angela comes from an improv background before The Office and stuff too.
Almost everybody here does. I mean, Matt Besser like started the UCB. Gordo, UCB is the Upright Citizens Brigade. They have that show on Comedy Central when we were kids, but they're like the ground.
I never watched it.
Yeah.
Paul Shear's, but actually, I think Paul Shear's got a traveling like improv thing. I just saw an ad for not long ago, and like Jason, what's his last name? Mantzoukas.
Matt Zukas.
Sudeikis?
Not Sudeikis. The Raffi.
Yeah.
Like he's part of it. Like they're all going to be in the area. Like I gotta look. I think they're going to be here this month. So
I will say, both of them do How Did This Get Made? Paul shares another great podcast too called Unspooled. It's like what we do but movies. But How Did This Get Made is one of the most fun live podcasts you can go to. They come to Boston every once in a while. I would say if you haven't gone, it's worth it.
Like I said, Tawny's kind of the one that they're focusing this on, so I think they're ending on her because it's fading into like her story first now. Because her little tagline is, girls just want to have fun, even when their husbands are dying. And now we're seeing like her house. Tawny's narrating while we see like her outside in her workout pants and like a bra. And she's like working out with like 1 pound weights. And she's talking about how she's just a small town girl who dreamed of the big life. And now she's here in Orlando and she married this amazing man, Phil. And they have this awesome relationship, except for the fact that he's dying. And, it's just so hard imagining life without him. But it is nice to know that when he's gone, she'll have his money to comfort her.
Did anybody realize who this was in this scene? Or did it take until
Not
later?
Not until they showed him later.
Okay, because I didn't see it right away. And then I was so surprised and so happy when we found out who it was.
And so she's kind of like, she's not like a... I don't want to get Joe triggered, but like the Anna Nicole, like,
yeah,
dating like the dying
you want
guy.
my cold dead body?
But like, yeah, so you have like that kind of element to her, and she's outside and she's like a blonde girl, and they're kind of showing her body a little bit with this workout thing.
Yeah, and the trainer is like helping her work out, but it's very suggestive sex moves.
Oh, he's like straight up grabbing her boobs at one point. She's thrusting downward dog at him.
The trainer, you mentioned the McCarthys earlier, Boston original, New Kids on the Block founding member, Joey McIntyre.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an odd, fun cameo. I didn't realize he acted so much. He has a lot of theater. He's got a pretty long IMDb.
He's done a lot. I feel like, up until like this last decade when the New Kids came back in their like resurgence, like he was very focused on acting.
I have not met him, but I did sit next to, is it Jordan? Does that sound right? Is it
Jonathan Knight.
Jonathan Knight. I sat next to Jonathan Knight at a high school play once.
Jordan Knight was like the main singer, but I think I had talked to you before, so I know that it was Jonathan that you met.
Yeah, Jonathan Knight. It was him for sure.
From Worcester.
They were from Dorchester.
Looking at Jordan Knight's shit right now. Worcester.
Well, maybe now.
Yeah, he made it and then moved to Worcester.
That's Gordo's big plan.
Yeah.
What, but Worcester in the 80s too. Like having to move to Worcester.
They were all out of houses in Springfield, so I moved to Worcester.
Listen, you go where the houses are cheap, okay?
Yeah,
which is not there anymore, oddly.
Actually, it's cheaper than here.
Well, we'll then we can write our script, The Real Housewives of Worcester.
The Real Housewives of Worcester, dude.
I think that show already exists, and it's called Kevin can fuck himself.
Yeah, true.
No, that's
yeah.
called Kevin go fuck himself.
She's continuing to talk. We find out that, outside of her dying husband, and she's focused on her charity. And tonight she's going to be throwing a huge fundraiser for her charity called Classy Canines, which provides high heels for dogs in Orlando. And anyone in Central Florida will be there, Gordo.
I would be there. Martha would be getting a high heels.
Would you put high heels on your dog? Can dogs walk in high heels if you put them on?
Oh, definitely not.
Actually, okay, you know what? They could, because dogs walk on their toes already.
Oh yeah, if they put them, yeah, but if you got dog sized high heels, that I don't think they would. They can barely walk if you cover their feet in shoes.
Yeah, I know. They just can't walk when they can't feel the bottom. But haven't we discussed Gordo's weird dog foot pics before, actually, now that I think about it?
Didn't Gordo just buy Crocs for his dog?
I didn't buy them yet.
He's like, please be quiet. It's not Christmas yet. He's like, he can hear you.
I don't want her to find the giblets I bought for them.
They do make dog gibbets.
What is it?
Gibbets?
Gibbets, okay. Oh, I'm sorry I got the croc terminology wrong. Fuck
The
me.
giblets. Just fucking
That's what
chicken
comes out of
innards.
chickens' necks. Gibbets.
To be fair, the dog would probably enjoy giblets more.
Way more, yeah.
Probably.
Joe's already got Thanksgiving on the mind.
No, but I know that they're making human dog matching ones. So
Great.
down the pipeline, maybe on our Instagram.
That's what Gordo's going to spend his T-Public money on. Matching
My
dog
God.
Crocs.
Speaking of T-Public, go buy a shirt.
Yeah, go buy a shirt so Gordo can buy Crocs for his dog.
Don't go buy a shirt, because if that's what the money goes to, I don't support that.
Buy a shirt. Don't listen. Buy a shirt no matter what. Buy a shirt.
Yeah, don't worry about my bad spending habits.
So now we cut to Shauna. Shauna's with her husband. She's saying, she's someone who loves to shop, and luckily her husband Anthony has his own business. He's an entrepreneur and makes a lot of money that she gets to spend, and he loves that about her. And then you cut to like him yelling at her for buying more dresses, and he's asking her like, "Did you get the toilet paper I asked you to get?" And she's like, "No, I forgot it. We don't need it." He's like, "What do you- we don't need it. I'm gonna have to use this packing paper to wipe my ass again. I'm getting purple hemorrhoids."
Matt Besser is so fucking funny, and all of this was improv too, which makes it even better. Gordo wouldn't know, but if you don't recognize him, he's been in a million things, but he's Ira from Crazy Ira and the Douche, would be an easy recognize on a podcast.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah, crazy Ira. Yeah.
It's insane that we do this and you've never seen The Office or Parks and Rec. It like breaks my brain that you didn't get whatever sitcom gene we all got.
And it's just because I'm calling it now did Gordo, I think he canceled Parks and Rec, didn't he?
I think a lot of you guys said that wasn't a phenomenal pilot, though.
That's true. The Office wasn't either, so.
Like, also agreed.
We'll talk about this. Obviously, this is like an Office tribute month. So to those listening, I'm legitimately afraid to cover The Office because my heart doesn't know how to handle. I haven't had everyone knows the first episode is a little slower, and I've come to love it because I've watched the show a million times over. But when we have to like deep dive it and like pick the show apart, like I don't know from the perspective of this show how I'm going to be able to like watch it the same. And I don't want to say anything negative about The Office, so I'm like afraid to cover it.
Well, no, I think if you can, it's a testament to how good we are at what we do.
Yeah, I know. We have to, it's our journalistic integrity on the line. So
I also think that sometimes people forget how good that first episode of The Office is because the awkward humor makes it so good. That whole basketball scene is, I usually get those, like those jokes to me, I think are still so funny.
So we get back to Shauna. She's talking about like, how much he loves all this stuff about her. And he cuts to him again and he's calling her a stupid idiot.
I did like her thing that if her husband cheats on her, she'll cut off his dick and feed it to the raccoons who live down by the railroad. That is such a weird, specific extra twist to a joke that always makes me laugh.
I'll tell you, what twist got me? Obviously, I just thought she was going to say balls. So when she said dick, I was like, oh.
Cutting somebody's dick off is so much funnier than cutting somebody's balls off. That has so much more.
Yeah, it's way worse.
Ask John Wayne Bobbitt.
They got it back on.
They did so back on, and then he did porn somehow. God, the 90s were fucking bananas.
Hey, I mean, what else is he gonna do?
The sad thing about that is, though, is that everybody was just like, isn't that funny? And then it came out years later that he was like a terrible, terrible guy and was like,
Yeah, I mean, she cut his dick off because he was like cheating and stuff. It wasn't like he was like this hero.
no, he was hitting her. He was like legit abusing her
I know
physically.
what I'm saying. Like the reason we heard from the beginning why she cut it off was because he was using it elsewhere.
Right, and just became like a joke on TV. It'd be like, hey, I'm gonna John Wayne Bob at you. This poor woman was getting fucking assaulted, and everyone just made it a joke for years.
90s.
What it is an I mean, it's a super strange tangent, but it is a very weird thing to be that person and come off as the hero of the story, I guess.
I mean, like, it's sad that it took that many years, but I mean, like, look, maybe you shouldn't cut someone's dick off, but like, I don't know, it would have been better if she just fucking killed the guy. I don't know, fuck him.
No, I think that's worse.
Next, we're at Veronica's house, and she's more, her name's Veronica Vandervom.
One thing you haven't mentioned, too, is that they all have little titles under them
Oh, I didn't even notice.
when they introduce them. So, like, Veronica is rich white woman.
So she's, Fergus said to us, like, she's more like the Vanderpump Rules, I guess.
Who are those people?
Yeah, I don't have the
I
reference for it.
don't know.
So that's why I was like, I mean, you know what? This is how we do our show anyways, right? I'm watching it as someone who's just watching the show based on what I've already know. So like, I don't know that stuff, so I can't really carry that along with me.
And to be fair, I do a lot of research when we do an episode, but like, it's hard to then start deep diving. Like, you'd be down so many rabbit holes of trying to go down who these characters are based on and what shows they were from and why.
Yeah, and that's again not why we want to watch the show,
Right.
just based on our own lives and what we watch, and is this something that we like?
So I had Chat GPT just write up a quick blurb about Vanderpump Rules. It's a reality TV series that follows the lives of servers and staff at Lisa Vanderpump's restaurants in West Hollywood, California. The show features a mix of drama, romance, and friendship as the cast navigates their personal and professional lives. It highlights the ups and downs of their relationships, often filled with jealousy, betrayal, and intense confrontations, all while trying to build their careers in the competitive hospitality industry. So it's just another one of those shows, apparently.
Oh, yeah. Also, side note, something that I've come to learn having used ChatGPT a time or two, ChatGPT loves to use adjectives and threes. It's like a big thing that it does all the time.
Yeah.
That's why it's
Like,
called
funny, charming, miserable.
Yeah. This show lasted because of its quirky, smart, and offbeat humor. Like
It's like it got like an assignment. It's just trying to get the word count.
Yeah, it's like you have to hit a certain amount of letters, yeah.
Yeah, it's just using a Mad Lib to answer your question.
The one reality show that I always think of, because it pops up all the time, because Peacock doesn't have a ton of their own stuff that anybody cares about, is there's that one that's like Below Deck. Have you guys like seen the trailer for that?
I have.
I've seen
Yes.
it because they used to watch it at work.
There's like multiple seasons and series of it. It's just people who work on a cruise ship.
Yeah.
That sounds like a prison camp. It's like these people were sentenced to work on a cruise ship for 9 months.
Apparently, cruise ship life is just kind of like a fuck fest, from what I understand. It's just like partying and just like total debauchery. Yeah, all right.
And dysentery, it seems like.
Debauchery, dysentery, and fucking.
Thanks, Chad.
Well, if you're going to go for ChatGPT, you go debauchery, dysentery, and doggy.
Sure, yeah, why not?
I mean, but that makes sense though for a cruise because you're just partying.
But not if you're staff.
No, you're partying.
Well, I mean,
too.
you have days off, right?
No, I would say that you don't have days off, because even if you don't have to work, if you're entrapped in one place, I technically wouldn't consider that a day off. Imagine when someone called you for work and you were like, oh, I'm so sorry, I can't come in today, it's my day off. Like, well, Greg's sick. Like, nah, man, I'm in Florida. Like, no, you're not. You're 2 minutes from here.
Yeah.
I can fucking find you. You have to come into work right now. That's not a day off. That is a slight reprieve.
I never thought about the concept of calling out for work when you live at work.
At work? It's terrifying, right?
So anyways, Veronica's character has that like transatlantic accent a little bit, because when you're so rich, you develop an accent.
I like that.
We see her and she's like, ooh, I knew you'd be in the bedroom. I'm going to cover your entire body with kisses. Come here, you. Oh, gorgeous thing. Oh, my love. oh, you're so gorgeous. And then we reveal that she's just like Gordo and she was talking to her dog
Thank
the
you. It
whole
was
time.
like everybody thought of Gordo, right? Like this person is sexualizing this dog, and it's just Gordo.
I do not sexualize my dog.
Her
Come on.
dog's name is Lover. So she calls her dog Lover.
Because he comes.
Well, the thing with her too is she'll tell all these sexually suggestive jokes, and like the shtick with her is she always has to explain that she did it though. Like she can't just leave it with the joke. So she's always like, I call him that because I want a lover that comes every time I call him. Do you get it? I made an orgasm joke. I thought was funny about that character that she can't let the jokes just sit on its own. She has to constantly explain it.
Andrea Savage too is super, and again, everybody in the show is super funny, but this is one of those shows where you can sort of hit like check marks of like other shows we should cover. Her show, I'm Sorry, is definitely one we should do.
She's further explaining the joke, and that's the, you need me to explain it again? It's coming, like COMCUM. She's
I do love this is the first time where someone's made a cum joke on I think this entirety of almost 200 episodes we've covered where they actually spell out cum though, which I do appreciate.
That's definitely the first. Yes, there's no chance that that's wrong.
I don't know, pilot of Full House maybe. Joey, would you ever dinner? CUM.
Nick, can you ask ChatGPT how many shows mention cum?
I can try.
I want to put this episode when we're done through the translator and see what happens. So she's talking about how she's from one of Orlando's oldest and whitest families, very known for their hot holes, heavy putting, and snake shack empire.
Snack Shack.
Snack Shack. I'm sorry.
Whoever designed the logo for this, whoever like was the graphic designer for this to make the logo for this Florida putt sexualized Snack Shack, fucking knocked it out of the park. It is so perfect and so stupidly
very
funny.
simple in nature. Yeah, it's like it very much is akin to, I guess, anything like that would exist.
And I would say that I would 100% go to that putt place.
Oh, yeah.
One thing that they're doing in this show too is every time it's going to hit commercial break, you're getting the like what's coming soon. Like, so they give you like the little preview to, which is what these shows actually do. It's like to try to hook you in. You're seeing the upcoming drama, so you don't want to leave after the commercial break.
Which, by the way, I hate more than anything on television. No, not only does it get you, yes, the payoff is never what they let it to be, right? Like it's never
later
that.
This season on, you're like, fuck you. How dare
Well, no,
you?
it's not even that. It's like they'll be like, oh, like, you know, one of them will be like, you know, I'm going to kill myself. And like, that's what they tease. But then it's just out of context. It's like, and she was like, I'm going to kill myself. You know, it's just, it never, ever, ever. And I hate it so much, which is why I've kind of liked watching certain things in like the streaming capacity because you don't have to deal with those anymore. Well, you do, but like you don't get the commercial in between. So sometimes it makes it a little more enjoyable. But
I will say this, Nick, though. It's happened once, though, where I was like, nope, they're going to pay this off and it's going to work. And it did, which was an episode of Love After Lockup, which is one of the only reality shows I watch, which is like the people conning guys into being like, I'm gonna get out of prison and we'll be married, and like obviously it never happens. That it just shows this girl in a pickle costume laying down in the dirt and it was like coming up, and I was like, well, we're not changing the channel now, are we? And like we got to the commercial and it was that girl in a pickle costume laying down the dirt, and then the guy came out of prison. He was like, what are you doing? And she said, I'm kind of a big deal. And I fucking popped so hard. It was like, that's the one time. It can never be beat. That is so fucking perfect.
you know what's funny is somebody posted about it. Oh, it was Ferg actually posted something about it today. But one of the biggest offenders of this tactic was Dog the Bounty Hunter, if you remember, because they always like they built it up to like be this like crazy bust, like whatever, and they just find this dude sitting in his kitchen. He's like, all right, yeah, cuff me, I'll go with you. And then they smoke a cigarette, talk about Jesus. Yeah, like, and then they're like, oh my, it never, like, there's 400 episodes of that show. I think maybe they had like legitimate altercations two or three times. It's insane.
3 times, yeah. It was just like, need a cigarette, brah? You gotta find God, brah. Well, that's the whole show.
With this show, they're most of the time, almost everything they show you in the like coming up is something that you're not going to see later on at all. Like it's they show you original clips. We get that other joke from her too, where she talks about how gonna be awkward because Tawny uses the same trainer that used to train her. And she's like, we used to work a lot on my jaw muscles. And then, did you get it? It was an oral sex joke.
First time we've had a blowjob?
Oh, God, no. We've definitely had blowjob jokes before.
Those have definitely happened. Next house we're seeing is Crystal's. Again, this whole episode is just basically introing us for the most part. I would say 75 to 80% of this episode is just kind of the one at a time learning all these characters. And then we get like a little bit at the end.
Yeah.
But now we're at Crystal's house, which is, again, the Angela Kinsey character.
And her parenthetical is local Christian wife.
And it's she's saying, it's hard to believe that God could make heaven more beautiful than Orlando. And then she says, let's give thanks. And she starts to pray. And then it pans out a little bit. And you see that she's like with her maid who's praying alongside of her. And right as she starts the prayer, she's like, oh, don't let my prayer keep you from cleaning. And then like tells the girl to like start cleaning again. You know, we get the cut back and forth from the talking head, and she's saying that her name's Crystal Simmons and she has this perfect life and God's given her so much, health, beauty, this McMansion in West Central Florida. Kind of, she gets distracted again looking at the maid, and she's just telling her to use like this vinegar cleaner that she gave her instead. I don't like vinegar cleaner, by the way.
I don't either. It smells
I know
so
it's
bad.
effective and it cuts
I
grease.
hate it.
Yeah, but when we were kids, and I worked at the comic book store that was in town, he used to have the vinegar cleaner to clean all like the glass cases, and I refused to use it. I literally had my own cleaner in the back, like a regular one that I would use to clean if I was watching the store.
I mean, that's my thing about the vinegar is I don't think that there's... Okay, so if you're going for natural, like that's what you're doing, like you don't want like the chemicals and stuff like that, then sure, use vinegar. But if you think you're going to get a cleaner product from vinegar than you are from a commercial like cleaner that you get, you're wrong. You can get the same kind of clean out of a Windex.
Well, this was like Windex with vinegar. This is like both.
Yeah, they
It's
make
like,
one.
It's to cut the grease better, but
It depends on what you're cleaning.
Look, I'm somebody who wears glasses. I clean my glasses 2 or 3 times a day with a cleaner because my glasses get dirty, oily, right? My kids grabbing them, whatever. We had to find a natural cleaner that didn't have vinegar in it. It took us so long, and we threw out like bottles of stuff because it was just gross smelling. We finally found one, and it half works. It doesn't work as good as Windex.
Is it?
But
Do you know the name? Because I found there's one that's like really popular and it's really good too.
I don't. I can tell you after.
I just had to take my glasses off because they're greasy. I get the greasy eye.
Right? Yeah, like they're constantly greasy. And it's even worse now that I've got like somebody pawing at them all the time, so they're just always smeared.
it's amazing how dirty your glasses will get in a day without touching the lens at all.
Yep.
Yeah, I never touch the lenses.
No, what always threw me off, your glasses can be totally clean, right? And you're like walking outside and it starts to rain and you get some water on them. And the smart logic of that would be like, glass had water on it and it's clean, so I'll just wipe it off. And then you wipe it off with something and it's just like smeared and it's like the multicolored thing. Like it's a rainbow. You're like, was there fucking exhaust on this? Like, how did that happen?
just all your face oils.
I mean, we are pretty oily people.
To go back, she's talking about how much her husband adores her, and we get that cut where we see them together, and she's like getting ready to head out for the day, and he's like, whoa, what are you doing? She's like, oh, that big Heels for Dogs party tonight. I'm gonna go to Fei-Fei's house and meet my sister, and then we're gonna go get our hair done. And he's like, are you forgetting Leviticus 3:10? A woman shall not leave her husband in time of need right now, and I need a tuna melt. And then it cuts to her talking head. It's like, I don't really read the Bible. TJ told me that women can't interpret it the way men can because it's written in Jewish. So he tells me what it says. I don't know why written in Jewish got me.
It popped me too. Also, Seth Morris, if you put a gun to my head and said, name the 10 funniest people who are alive on the earth, Seth Morris to me is in that top 10. If you haven't heard it before, just YouTube later Bob Duca. It's one of his characters he's been doing for years, which is basically like an NPR type of character who runs off lists of things. Like just random lists, like here are the 10 best things about this or whatever. You can listen to like, they've done like hundreds of hours of them and they are fucking amazing.
By the way, Leviticus 3:10 is, and the 2 kidneys with the fat that is on them at the loins and the long lobe of the liver that he shall remove with the kidneys.
So when eating meat, save the kidneys for God.
Correct.
I'd respond to that, but whatever I say is going to make Gordo so mad he'll edit it out anyway, so I'm just going to leave the Bible
100%.
out of this.
I do like the idea of her character being ultra religious but doesn't read the Bible because her husband told her that basically she's too dumb to interpret it.
I mean, we all grew up going to CCD, which is a like Christian after school Catholic sort of thing, whatever. And I've got to tell you, I don't think I retained anything from that. Looking back on it now, it seems like whatever they were trying to achieve like was not achieved, if that makes sense.
I think when you go to like a CCD, at least when we did, and obviously we didn't take it seriously when we were kids, and then, or if you go to church now and they do readings, basically it's like what's written in the Bible itself. And this is not to get into religion. I'm not the most religious person personally, but like the way it's always been presented in these cases is they read you these stories from the Bible. And like the actual quotes and stuff are not really so much relevant. A lot of it's in a way that's not even spoken these days. So the actual verbiage is less important.
What I always thought was interesting was there's just like a very small amount that people have chosen to be like a wedding thing. Where it's like, oh, now someone's going to read from like a letter of Corinthians to whatever. Like,
there's like the go-to passages for like all the different ceremonies through like passages of life, I guess.
Like, I would love to go to a wedding. There's like 10,000 pages in the Bible. I would love to go to a wedding where they read what Gordo just said. I would have been like, fuck, that's great. I don't have to hear, like, I've never heard that before. Sure, why not?
I want to host a podcast where the two of you just talk religion back and forth.
I mean, a Patreon of us, two friends who've been friends for 30 years who have like diametrically opposed views on religion would be very, very interesting.
I would.
You know, the good thing is, though, aside from you editing me, you fucking censor piece of shit, it's never been like a fight, you know? We're always just like, we just believe in different stuff. It's fine.
No, you guys are just wrong, and I'm right. That's fine.
So, all right, moving along.
I just want to keep going. You should be like, oh, I just learned to be a good person. I don't need the fake guy. Ah!
So, now we're getting Fei-Fei's talking head. She probably has the longest like intro quote about herself. She's saying, "My name is Fei-Fei, short for Phenomenon Reed Esquire. I am a lawyer. I own one of the largest law practices in Orlando, but I do not let that define me because I'm also a cake designer, a Zumba instructor, a foot model, a certified CPA, and an inspiring taxidermist." And then she like picks up like, what was it, like a chipmunk or something? She's like, "I killed this bitch myself."
Yeah.
I will say though, like if you're like, I'm one of the top lawyers in Orlando, then you make sense to be on this show. You must be, you must have a mega mansion.
Yeah. Considering all things that we know about Florida, the Florida man, if you will.
I will say I'm someone who needed a Florida lawyer not that long ago, not too far down the road in the Tampa area. Fei-Fei couldn't have done any worse. So,
Much like baseball, Jada's spring training down in the Florida court system.
So now we cut to like inside of her house. And she's saying that the hardest job she has is being the wife of a professional athlete. And you see her and her husband talking. It's like, "Oh, big game tonight, baby. Team's counting on me." She's like, "Yeah, you're going to kick ass." He's like, "Your man is a baller." And then you see him put on the mascot, like the elephant mascot hat. And this is Jerry Minor, by the way, who's playing this character of Fei-Fei's husband. Gordo, you would know him from The Office.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I do know him.
Gordo, you would at least know him if you watched the episode of Lucky Louie we did too, because he's a major character in that.
Oh yeah, he was the the neighbor, yes. Right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's the neighbor with the
kid.
The kid who like, "I don't want the black Barbie."
Yep.
He only did he only do the one episode of The Office, or did his character ever come back? It was just the one.
He comes back.
Right?
Also, nowadays he's on Abbott Elementary, which is pretty great modern sitcom. He's like a main, well, I guess you'd call him like a.
We covered that a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, all the pictures of him like in the full elephant mascot outfit, like at the basketball court, I thought was pretty good.
I always wonder we're in a point now in time where like Gritty is a good example, right? Where like there are mascots who, if you live in Philadelphia, like that dude goes places and the people pay like tons of money to have that mascot there. Like if it's the same person, they must be making a pretty decent living, right?
I mean, I'm sure it's not that much. In comparison to like people like us, maybe, but I can tell you.
If I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, but I believe this to be true, someone we know was trying to intern with the Bruins. And one of the stipulations was that like part of it is that you would be in the Blades costume at events like that. Like you'd be one of the people who would do it. Like
You go to the
multiple
parties,
people-
yeah.
Yeah, like multiple people will like don the costume. Like it's not just one person's job at all time.
Well, a hockey mascot's like a secondary thing because you have to know how to skate too. Like if that's like your job and you're the mascot all the time, you have to be able to like skate well.
But that doesn't mean that that person might not be the same gritty that's doing the supermarket appearance like the next day. Like it could be a different, they might have multiples.
So it says that the highest paid NBA mascot is Rocky the Mountain Lion of the Denver Nuggets, who earns around $625,000 per year. Other top NBA mascots include Benny the Bull of the Chicago Bulls, who earns $400,000 per year, and Harry the Hawk of the Atlanta Hawks, who earns $600,000 a year.
So maybe that's why he's a basketball mascot.
But at that point, I imagine you can like do flips off of a trampoline and like land a slam dunk. Like you must be like really good, right? Like you're hard to replace. Like you do things that people expect
also,
and no one can do it.
He's not the mascot for the Orlando Magic. He's some sort of an elephant mascot. So what?
Yeah.
Are you doing college mascot work
like
or is
AAA
this high school
work? Yeah.
Minor league.
I think Feifei's bringing in all the money as top.
I mean, if you're the biggest
area.
lawyer in Orlando, you've got all the money for sure.
True.
So she's like sitting down getting ready, and that's when like Crystal walks in. It's like, oh hey, it's like, I can't stay long. I don't like to leave TJ home by himself. And that's when Feifei's like, I gotta be Feifei and speak my mind, okay? Your husband's an asshole, all right? And those shoes make your feet look like two piglets got stuck in a shot glass. It's terrible. And then it cuts to Crystal, like talking heads, like, that's what I love about Feifei. She just gotta speak her mind. Even if it's cruel and unnecessary, she just gotta be Feifei.
I did like hear that she just caves and she goes, I am a dumb bitch. What's happening here?
It's, I like that. Even like the way Crystal says it, like she's not saying it in like a sarcastic way. She's saying it like very bubbly, like, even though it's really cruel and unnecessary.
Yeah. Her delivery is great.
And you cut back to them and Crystal's like, where's Amanda? She was supposed to meet me here. And she's like, your sister's a broken ass bitch, okay?
Oh, Amanda.
And you're a dumb bitch for messing with her. I gotta be Feifei. Speaking my mind, I'm a true friend. I'm here to help.
No, I feel like this is way funnier because I'm sure this is like based on a very known character if you watch these shows.
Well, there are, like I think even though like when we talked to Ferg and said like a lot of these people are kind of like directly parodying, and I'm sure to a degree some of them have heavy pulls from actual people, but there are the classic types that are on these shows in that inherent need to be overly honest, even though it will do no good at all.
To anybody,
character. Yeah.
So Feifei is largely based on a mashup of the Real Housewives of Atlanta, Nene Nix, and Fedrea Parks.
Well, I guess technically when you do mash up Fedrea and Nene, you would get Feifei.
I think that's how you pronounce that. I'm hoping.
Is it Whoop and Nene? Is that the song?
It's Whip.
Whip and Nene, okay. I hear this stuff in like weird bleeps and blurs.
Listen, there's a great video of a bunch of middle schoolers doing it, like on the cringe channels, and they dab all at the end. I don't know if you've ever seen this video.
And yet somehow Gordo watches it.
Middle schoolers, Gordo. I don't.
All right, yeah, that's pretty bad.
Gordo, have you ever considered the fact that a lot of the things that you're watching on cringe websites are the things you do?
Do and like? When you're searching fucking dab videos and then you're like, oh, half an hour of middle schoolers, let's keep watching that, then maybe you're the problem.
No, he's not thought that.
If it pops up on my feed, I'm not contributing to the problem. It's the creators or the curators that are.
It was my feed, officer. I swear it was me. It was my feed.
Now we're at Amanda's house, and she's like, my name's Amanda Simmons. You might recognize me as the Florida prune juice girl from when I was a kid. And we cut to the commercial, and it's like, Florida prune juice is easy going in as it is going out.
Look, that's an easy joke, but it's a funny joke.
It's funny. I think we may have even talked about this on here before, but I've always thought it's really interesting. First, that like Big Prune Juice needs to get together and rebrand and just call it like Plum Juice because it's too late. no one wants to drink prune juice because it's just known as the juice that old people drink to shit.
Not just old people. I had a constipated 7-month-old recently, and we're like, what do we do? We're at the grocery store and it was like, prune juice. I'm like, do you think it'll work? It's like, I don't know. And an hour later, we're like, prune juice. It worked so quick.
I've never had a prune or prune juice, and I like plums, and I love like raisins and stuff like this, and other dried fruits. There's no reason I wouldn't like a prune, but we were so conditioned as kids to be like, prunes are gross old people food that like, even knowing all this mentally, I can't make myself eat a prune. Like, it just seems too weird.
I have no problem pooping, so I don't want to eat it. It's the same thing with like fiber bars.
Gordo's tombstone. I have no problem pooping.
But just the same, like you
It
can
just
eat,
falls
like,
out.
You can have a couple prunes and you're not gonna like your stomach's not gonna be in knots.
I will say though, there were certain fruits that I really enjoy that I avoid because that's what they do. Like I love peaches and plums. If you eat 2 peaches,
Oh boy!
Well, Joe, guess what a plum is?
Yeah, guess what?
It's a
I'm sorry, I
fruit.
meant peaches and what's the non-hairy peach?
Nectarines.
Nectarines. Like peaches, nectarines are delicious.
Yeah, so they all come from the same. They're all stone.
The same place, the same farm fruit. I like plums too. Anything with a pit in it's gonna make you poop. So you got to be really careful on how you eat it. Cherries.
Avocados don't make me poop.
Yeah, I don't like avocados.
I had some guacamole right before we started recording.
Jay just shits himself right now. He's, oh my god, what did I do?
No, that'll be from the cough drops.
So, oh boy.
I love when you don't know where to go and you go, oh boy.
So you cut back to her and she's like looking in the mirror and she's one of these like, basically they're playing her off like she's like a former child star, but all she really did was like prune juice commercial as a kid. And she's like looking in the mirror, reciting the line like, it's easy going in as it was going out. She's like looking at herself and she's like, those were some great years.
I do love this because she's not like, a former child actor. Because it's like the easy route to take, is you see all like the tragedy of child actors who fall apart. This is just somebody who did a state regional commercial for a couple of years and they like can't get over it. It's a very interesting twist on a character.
The cut back to the commercial footage when it's like the guy from like the director or whatever is like, how you doing, man? And she's like, I'm great. I'm going to be happy forever. And she's showing you how she got caught up in the wildlife that comes with being a local commercial star. You see all these pictures of her like out partying.
But good for her. She's been clean and sober for 7 days.
Because they're asking her what she's been up to modern day. She's like, well, I gave meth a whirl.
Very Florida. Now, I've done a lot of amphetamines, but I've never done any methamphetamines, and I feel proud about that fact.
That you know of.
No. I would know if it was meth. I think that's very specific, too. The amphetamines I were getting were pharmaceutically provided by things we won't talk about here.
She's saying how she's hoping this show is going to be a good avenue to get her life back together. Although her therapist said that that's a terrible idea. So she's like, fired.
The best part about this, if they don't play it up, is that her earrings keep falling out. And like, I don't
Oh
know
my god.
if it's that she's like too high to clip them in or whatever. But the fact that it keeps happening and they don't acknowledge it is so fucking funny. I will say this, the funniest parts of this show are the things that are not acknowledged. I will talk about more at the end of this, but the few things that like really made me laugh were always things that were just like not supposed to be a joke that like they hammered in.
I forgot about it until you mentioned it, but the earrings really did make me laugh because she spends the time to put one of them back in, and then right before the scene cuts, the other one falls out. It's so fucking funny, yeah.
She's nervous about the party tonight because she's never really learned how to interact with people socially and talks about how the prunes were her friends. People don't really understand.
She's really hanging on to this very non-influential role.
But apparently it was not very successful because there hasn't been a second Florida Prune Juice Girl.
Yeah, it didn't end up like a lot of these campaigns only go so far.
Do you think now, socially economic speaking now, going a little adult here, we're talking it's October 2024. Florida just got rocked so hard with crazy storms the past couple months. Do you think that we're going to see like a huge uptick in prices for like Florida fruit, like our orange juice and things like that going to be affected? Are prunes going to be crazy expensive in a couple months? I bet.
Well, it depends like what areas got hit. Like so
Central Florida. Yeah, that's where they grow them.
I think I would say Florida's probably not the main, like, you know it for that, like Georgia peaches, but
Georgia's peaches, Florida's oranges.
West Coast is probably where you're getting most of your fruit like that, just because
Florida
of this.
Natural is my go-to orange juice, although I have not bought orange juice from my house in a very, very long time.
I love orange juice so much, but it just gives me heartburn that I have to be very careful with it.
Yeah, I'm the same. It's just it's at what point am I just torturing it? And it's so much sugar.
It's funny, I was just talking today with somebody else. We were talking about McDonald's breakfast. They were like, why is their orange juice so good? Is it just like in your head that it's better, or is it different in some way? Because it's the same with the Coke, right? Like the fountain Coke at a McDonald's is different than the fountain Coke you're getting at, fucking Applebee's or
Their
whatever.
syrup is handled it like their syrup's not left in bags, they're left in like almost like kegs, right?
Oh, is that what it is?
So for some, McDonald's travels with their syrup different, which does give it a slightly different taste.
Interesting.
I don't drink a ton of soda, and I will drink a McDonald's Coke all day long. Someone says, you want a McDonald's Coke? You're like,
Same.
Ooh, yeah.
I mean, if I can find the McDonald's that has a Coke Zero, and then I'm feeling great.
Everyone I know like champions for McDonald's Coke. I don't go to McDonald's very often. In the off chance I go to McDonald's, I have to get the high C. Like,
oh, man, what are you, 9? Come on.
You're eating a burger with high C?
No, Jay's eating what is it? The fish, the
fillet of fish and nuggets.
Fillet of fish.
Wait,
and
you're eating
high
a fillet
C.
of fish with orange high C? Are you a fucking serial killer? What is wrong with you?
Jealous?
That is such a fucking J-Gags combo if I've ever heard one. Chasing it down, man. Oh, that's so gross.
You know how like McDonald's now gives like podcasters and like celebrities meals? Can we try and petition McDonald's to make the J Gags meal, which is the filet?
No,
of fish
I don't
with
want.
the high
I
C?
don't want to have somebody eat that.
This is also not the right week for that, too, since a quarter pounder just killed like 17 people. I think maybe they're not giving away
guess
free
what
burgers
did
right
it?
now.
The fillet of fish killed nobody.
It would kill me. Why did Joe die? Well, he got a free fillet of fish, and he felt to make the sponsorship worth it, he had to try to eat it, and he couldn't get to his EpiPen in time.
Next time we're all together, I'm going to treat you guys to a round of orange lava burst, and you're going to understand that you've been missing out for years.
I just dumped out all of the fucking hard Mountain Dews you left at my house. I do not want.
First off, you brought this up on the show before. I really want to make this clear to people listening. I don't drink stuff like that. Like, that's not my drink. I was curious because I saw it in some main bodega store that I walked into. I was like, this is weird. So I was like, this would be fun to try. This is not something I drink. Like, I had a Mountain Dew drink. I wasn't drinking them all night at his house. I was drinking other stuff.
I will give Jay the credit on this one. He wasn't drinking them all night because I did dump out a ton of them. Gordo's wife drank one, Jay had one, and your friend drank one, and then I dump out 9 of them.
Also, Jay, you slug energy drinks like nobody I've ever seen. It wouldn't be outside of the realm that the Mountain Dew drink is in your, ballpark.
I don't drink soda, like in general, usually.
But energy drinks are soda, you know that, right? Like they're not.
They're all sugar free for the ones I drink are all mostly sugar.
So would you
free.
consider Coke Zero not soda?
I wouldn't consider it an energy drink.
Well, I mean, the difference is just more caffeine. It's still a soda, though.
But what defines a soda? This is such a long tangent. But like, is a polar seltzer a soda?
A flavor and a bubbly.
So seltzer is soda.
Soda water. Yeah. It's still soda water.
That's not the same. If I'm drinking a polar seltzer, I'm not drinking soda.
You're drinking a soda water. Well, okay, yes. It's not the same in a sense that it's probably not mixed with syrup like Coke is.
I call it soda, though. Personally, I never said tonic. I never called it cola. I've always said soda.
No, people used to call soda tonic.
Yeah, like my parents call Pepsi tonic. Like that was just like a generational thing.
Yeah.
Sodas are usually classified by having carbonated water, some kind of sweetener, and a natural or artificial flavoring.
Okay. So an energy drink would be a soda.
Yeah.
Soda pop is different though, right? Soda versus soda pop. I think soda pop would be like Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew. And pop, I believe, is like the Midwestern term for it.
Sure, but I think we're getting into is a hot dog a sandwich type of an argument right now.
Yeah, we're getting a little far in the weeds here.
Which it is. It's a subcategory of a sandwich, but whatever. We won't get into it right now.
Anyways, yeah. now we're at Tawny's house, and she's going through the area like with Anton, who's the party planner. He's looking around. He's like, I want this couch to be lavender. This candle's terrible. This book is wonderful. And she's going through and like agreeing with everything. He's like the party planner to the Orlando Stars, basically. And he's going through everything. And he suggests a $25,000 deposit for the Skyrider. She's like, Skyrider? We already have like the Cirque du Soleil performers and all the other stuff. And he's like, this is Orlando. You go big or you go back to Kissimmee. Which is the neighboring like town, basically. Kissimmee's like right next to it.
What's the other one he says later where he's like, it's tacky, it's Tallahassee tacky, which is very funny.
Yeah.
And he goes, do you think when I was planning Hulk and Linda Hogan's divorce party that we decided to go subtle? No. For God's sake, we went huge. There was a trapeze artist, the Blue Angels flew over, and Shakira was there.
Hulk and Linda Hogan, the most Orlando celebrity couple of all time.
Oh, man. I could imagine they would have legitimately thrown a divorce party. That family became such a like, go back to this whole reality TV thing, right? Like the show here,
Hogan's
like this
Knows
parody
Best.
like didn't their lives basically fall apart when they decided to have a reality show and expose the entire family to the limelight?
It seems to be like not a good thing for people. You know what I mean? Like having reality shows about your family never seems to end up in a way where people are like, and it's good.
Except the Osbournes. The Osbournes are doing just fine.
No, I think you'll forget that there's weirdness to that too. Like there was a kid who didn't want to be even involved in it, who like was hidden from the family. Like there's still stuff that like.
But I don't think that was like terrible. I think she just was like, I don't want to do this. I don't think there was like a lot of negativity around it.
But I will say this too, like Ozzy Osbourne, I love Ozzy, but like that show, because of editing, made him look like a dribbling idiot. You know what I mean? Like I feel like that's not good for Ozzy. He's much smarter than they made him out to be, but he just ran with it because it was a character thing.
Right, but I think if you compare to a lot of the other ones, I mean, like you look at Hogan Knows Best, and then like they divorced, and then there were the other ones, like remember like the Jessica Simpson and Nick Lachey show was popular for a while, and then like they divorced, and like I think like that hyper focus on when you turn your real life family into your television personality thing and like muddle that water, I think it usually is grounds for disaster. And even with these shows where these people aren't really real celebrities to begin with, and they become pseudo celebrities because they televise their lives, like everything seems to go south.
Well, like the Kardashians.
Yeah, well, they.
Yeah, I mean,
they
like the
seem to-
Kardashians.
Well, they seem to thrive. Like they're like the vampires of the reality world.
It's
like
because they're totally not self-aware.
Yeah, they're just vapid fucking psychopaths. And one of them is O.J. Simpson's daughter, so I mean that's its own thing.
the 16 and pregnant, or is that's what it's called, right?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
Like look at those ones, and like they all end up on the news for like terrible things going on in their
Like
lives.
Jersey
And-
Shore, right? Like they all ended up like doing a bunch of garbage
Yeah,
stuff
they're all
too,
like
right?
the up now. Like they had to go through. Like I think they're all good now for the most part. But yeah,
My
it took a while.
600-pound life, Honey Boo Boo.
Yeah, it's always like grounds for a disaster.
Honey Boo was a tough one. We were like, hey, they're doing good, right? They got all this money. And then it was like, it got so dark. You're like, man, what the fuck?
You know, funny thing about Honey Boo Boo is, Joe, do you remember the Rosebud?
I do very well.
You know, there was a loosely pitched reality show that was going to star that place. TLC came in, did all the paperwork, filmed like the crazy owners and whatnot. They were going to have like the bar be like the background, sort of home base at the end of the episode. And it turns out we didn't hear anything back from them. And then here comes Honey Boo Boo. So ironically, Honey Boo Boo bumped what could have been a bump for me on TLC.
Yeah, Gordy, you could have been a reality show side character.
I could have been.
Could have been you having arguments on a microphone with like 60-year-old guys who were in Boston bands 30 years ago. Because every time I went there, it would be you on a microphone screaming at the singer of some band who was popular in the 80s, being like, stop singing so fucking loud. Like, oh my God, what's happening?
You could have been Honey Goo Goo.
I could have been. But yeah, fun fact. Honey Boo Boo bumped Gordo off of TLC.
You're both doing great now, though, so that's the important thing.
She's got more money than me, though. I mean, I'll take it. Take the money.
So to get back into this, Anton convinces her to to, spend the extra money after the speech about the Hogans. And she goes, all right, you've got me. Let's do this. Will cash be all right? And he's like, do you have $25,000 cash in your house? And she's like, yeah, and then some.
That is insane to me.
Yeah.
It took me so long that I care to admit, as a almost 40-year-old adult, that when people say, oh, I bought a car in cash, they didn't mean that they took cash to a dealership and paid them with like a briefcase, that they paid them with a cashier check.
Yeah, they mean they use money they already have. Yeah.
Liquid capital.
Gordo, you just bought a car recently. Did you try to walk in with a bunch of cash?
No, I didn't. No, I didn't.
Just 3 accountants counting, being like, who the fuck is this guy?
I'm more curious about the conversation Gordo had with someone where he challenged them and they had to explain to Gordo that they didn't actually bring cash to the dealership. So, oh yeah, I bought my car cash. And Gordo's like, why didn't you just put it on your debit card or something? I did.
You're going to ATMs all day, like wiping them out of money.
Look like the Hamburglar with, a sack behind him.
We're flashing forward now, and we're at the actual party itself. And right off, the first thing that flagged my eye were these servers that were walking around and these like...
The Cirque du Soleil servers.
Cats? Did you guys get like cats? Like,
yeah, I got like a cat vibe, like a...
Hey, I don't really know what they were going for, honestly.
They're in like a full like spandex jumpsuits.
Sean is walking in first and greets Tawny, and they have this thing where they're like, on surface to one another, like overly bubbly and happy, but they have this very competitive nature with one another. So like you're getting all these like, side comments as they're talking, like, oh, you really pulled this together. Like, yeah, you're really trying. Yeah, pulled the old gal together, didn't you? And you get the side comment, the talking head from Shauna. Tawny's my best friend from when we worked together as stewardesses at the Hooters airline. And, the airline eventually shut down because of a chlamydia outbreak, but we remain friends and always will be.
It's funny because, like, in the 90s, especially when it was like WWE restaurant, like all these brands were like branching out these insane things. The idea of a Hooters airline in like 1997 is not that far-fetched.
No, not at all. To the point where I was like, was that a thing?
Yeah, you were like, they only serve wings for some reason. You're like, I'm vegetarian. Be like, well, then you're gonna die on this plane. I don't know what to
If I could get Hooters wings on a plane ride, that'd be pretty fucking great.
Yeah, they do have good wings.
I've never been to a Hooters.
You ever been to a Hooters ever?
No.
Well, time for the Google boys to take a field trip.
I don't know if I can have their wings now. I mean, I'll go there with you and
Why
have a beer.
couldn't you?
The breaded ones, but they do have naked wings too that you can get.
The issue is if they use the same fryer, though.
Oh, okay. Still, Google boy field trip.
I mean, like I said, I'll go hang out with you there for a while, and we'll have to get T-shirts.
And we have to take pictures with the waitresses. They love that.
I would not do that ever. Those poor fucking women.
We do, my work league does the fantasy football draft at Hooters every year, and we always take a group picture. Like every year, like I'll ask one of the girls to take the photo for us, and like, oh, do you want a few of the girls for the photo? And I'm like, no, like that's so weird.
That's just asking a lot, and this is weird. Your sexualized fucking wing job.
Oh, look at these girls who live in my area who are just wearing tank tops that like odds are like are probably relatives with someone I'm friends with on Facebook. Like I don't need that.
And also like, it's just so shitty. Like and I get why doing that job makes sense. If you're going to be a wait staff person somewhere, like you probably get really good tips there, but you have to deal with a lot of shit too,
Yeah, but it's not as like,
Yeah.
So I'll say this, like you said you never gone, and I've gone to Hooters plenty of times over the years. At the end of the day, it's just a standard, like regular ass restaurant with like burgers and wings and stuff. And the girls are wearing shorts and tank tops. It's really nothing crazy. Like it really isn't.
It's a masterclass in branding, though.
Yes. It's not even like, and honestly, like I think they've actually changed the shorts and tanks a little bit over the years, but like it's not even like that showy of a tank top. Like it really isn't that big of a deal at all.
No, even in the 90s, they weren't.
Now, that being said, are there definitely some creepy dudes who probably go there because strictly to see like whatever waitress?
Some.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of it. Yeah.
I'm sure of most. Yeah.
But I've always thought like to those guys, just go to a strip club. Like if that's really what you want to see, like if you just want to see someone's tits, just go to or go to the beach.
No, that's the weird thing. So Florida, I've watched every episode of Bar Rescue. That's a reality show I love. They're always in Florida at like a bikini bar. And I went to a bikini bar not knowing it was one when I was in Miami last time. My friends were like, hey, we're getting a drink down here. Like, go to the hotel, we'll get a beer. And I walk into like the most depressing one level, two girls bikinis being like, it's 2-for-1 beers right now. I was like, I'm so sorry, I'm here. So like those places exist, right? Where it's like bikini bars, which are way more scantily clad, I think, than your average Hooters, right?
If they're in bikinis, for sure.
I would say in like the argument verse, why not go to a strip club? Like, there's more of a chance that a waitress, you could convince yourself that a waitress might actually be into you quicker than you can convince a stripper might be into you. You know what I mean?
Ooh, she put a heart next to her name on my check. I should tip heavy.
That's a weird thing to be like, I think she's into me.
I think they've calmed down with actually, not to talk too much Hooters. I feel like that's one of those things that they probably stopped doing maybe around the pandemic time. But I used to remember they would be a little flirty when they first get there. And like, they would always like, if there was extra room at the booth, they'd like sit down at the booth with you while they were taking the order. And like,
that's so fucking weird, man.
And when you're like a bunch of like 20-year-old guys, like, oh my God, like she's sitting here with us, like, because we're cooler than all the other guys here. Like it's great. It's so smart.
It is. And you chip more. Like it works.
I've told people I legitimately I'm a big fan of Hooters wings. And if a guy served me my wings, I would not notice unless you pointed it out to me. Because like, that's just not why I go there anymore.
I feel like Hooters chicken sandwiches are not talked about enough because they're delicious.
When we were like younger and would go, like I would get the sandwich, but I'm a wing man. Like I love wings in general. So
I've got no time for the bone, man. I'm a tender boy all day long.
You are a tender
You're a nugget
boy.
man.
Nuggets are good too. Tenders, nuggets. I'm not going to eat around a bone. What am I, a fucking savage?
Yeah, I never understood the bone discussion. I don't think it tastes better, even though people will argue that it does. I hardcore disagree.
I think it does.
I disagree. I think it's the same taste, and I
It's
don't
the
want to eat a
skin.
bone.
I at least appreciate that you at least said tender because I'm tired of hearing boneless wing because it's not a fucking thing. It's not a wing.
No, that's
It's
not a
nuggets.
thing. Yeah, it's a tender. It's a boneless
It's just
tender.
a different part of the chicken.
You just don't want to, as an adult, ask for chicken fingers. I get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I got the boneless wings. That's not a fucking thing.
Right, because you're like, can I have the chicken fingers and french fries? We're like, okay, 3-year-old, we'll make you dinner for you, yeah.
Oh, no, but I got mild sauce on it. Would a baby do that?
I always get the mild sauce.
Of course you do, tender boy.
Tendy man.
Now we cut back to the girls talking, and she's asking where Anthony is, Shauna's husband. And it's like, oh, funny. He called me. He's on his way to work. He said to me, there's no way I'm going to your friend's party. I hate those idiots. And she's like, that doesn't sound funny or like a story. It's like, oh, no. I mean, it's because you don't get a sense of humor, but you should have heard it. The way he imitates you is so funny. And she's like, oh, I bet if I was there, I would laugh. And something about like the delivery of it, like really, that made me laugh.
That was really good, yeah.
This is like, I think, one of the smartest lines of the whole show, because even if you aren't in that situation currently, like everyone's been in a situation where they're like, I fucking hate my significant other's friends, right? Like, it's so relatable.
But it's the way that she's like, you're not supposed to tell the friends that like, oh, he couldn't be bothered. He really hates all you guys. That's just who he is, though. But then like she's going on, and again, these two have like this weird competitiveness with one another. And she's like, oh my God, this place, can you like, oh my God, it's so cute. My place is so big. I never know what to do with it, but this is so cute and tiny. I feel like I could do so much here. Like, I'm going to go mingle. And it's like, and this is a huge place. So like, so it's just like a one's up type of situation.
This is a crazy design feature too, where like, I don't know who decided, like, and it's a weird thing, right? People go into this stuff where it's like, we're going to build a mansion. It's got to have this giant, weird, ornate staircase. Like, it's a very specific thing.
We're basically like, if they didn't want the entranceway to be so open, you could have had a whole other room above the head.
Right. Yeah. Like, they ruined so much space.
And you get Tawny's cutaway after Shauna says that to her and walks away saying, I feel like Shauna's a little competitive with me, but I don't want any drama tonight. So I'm going to confront her about it, which is a big like theme in this show with the,
Yeah.
a lot of the joking is how much no one wants any drama, but all they do is present drama to one another.
I laughed here too because her parenthetical was dog patron, which is just the fucking funniest thing to be described as. How would you describe Tawny? She's like a dog patron.
So now Crystal and her husband, we see them next, and a server walks by with some hors d'oeuvres, and the two grab one, and she's about to eat, and he's like, "Hey, sweetheart," like, "What?" It's like, "Oh my!" And he like has her spit it out into his hand, and I guess they have to do their prayers first. He goes, "Lord, we thank you for this artesian sourdough, aged Gouda, and sun-dried tomato. In your name, God bless America. Amen."
I like how she's sniffing it when he's doing it.
I also didn't know. I thought at first that Seth Morris is doing a like, don't eat carbs, you'll be fat thing.
I thought it was going to be that first, but it was strictly like they're really just keeping these guys religious.
Which I thought was even funnier, right? Because you think it's going to be one thing and
Yeah,
it's another.
right.
Do you say your prayers before every time you eat, or just before?
Technically, you're supposed to.
Really? So I'm saying like not even like I never even thought about breakfast and lunch. I just thought it was like a dinner only type of thing.
Yeah, it seemed that was like a dinner thing to me.
I mean, it's like it's too deep in the weeds, but
Dear God, thanks for this McGriddle and this vanilla bean coffee. In our name, amen. Like,
Thank you
you're
for my
welcome.
high C and my fillet of fish.
You know, Jason, I didn't suggest fish at breakfast.
Dear Lord, I left you this kidney. I will be enjoying the wings. But anyways, right around here is when Amanda finally shows up, and Crystal's like, "Where have you been? We've been worried about you." She's like, "I got lost. You live next door." Yeah, but the driveway is like really confusing. And then you cut to the talking head at Crystal, and she's like, "Being in a large social setting could really push my sister Amanda over the edge back into addiction."
Also, Crystal's parenthetical here is just dumb bitch, which fucking made me laugh so hard. Because I just wasn't expecting that at fucking all.
Yeah, that was really good.
Crystal also goes on to explain, and that's why I felt like I had to invite her to the party tonight. It's just like that lack of self-awareness is a big theme with all these characters, really. And then we see Veronica, who's entering the party, and she's seeing Tawny, and they're talking to one another. And she's saying, "Oh, I heard that you're training with Heath. You know, he used to train me." And then she's like, "Well, I guess he's moved on to train someone younger, someone who can keep up." And she's like, "Oh, darling, I can train all night. And I train in the butt."
This show is weird, man. Like,
Yes.
even for what it is, it's weird.
I didn't
Like-
see that line coming.
No.
That one got me.
Does anybody ask that about their trainers? I don't want to talk about working out right now because Ferg is going to hear this and get fucking mad somewhere. But do you ever go to the gym and you're like, "Do you train in the butt, sir?"
the glutes.
I did a glute exercise this morning and it was very hard.
So you trained in the butt.
I technically trained in the butt this morning.
Tawny says that she trains based on love and respect. Veronica's like, "Well, what does your husband think about all this training?" And she's like, "How dare you bring up my dying husband?" And that's when he enters, and that's Phil, played
Holy
by
shit.
Stephen Tobolowsky, who we've seen in,
Everything ever.
yeah, he's in everything. So like, best known for, what would you best known him for? Like,
I would say Groundhog Day is his best known for.
Me and Ferg would best know him as he was in Californication, which was he was like a big part in that. He's fucking hysterical in it too. Every scene he's in is amazing.
He's never been bad in anything, and he's in like such a weird thing. I was like going through his IMDb and just like counting off every movie or TV show I've seen him in, and you're like, this is fucking insane. Like, and like disparate things too, like from Mississippi's Burning to the Goldbergs. Like he's just been in everything fucking ever, and he's always great in it.
Wild Hogs,
Wild Hogs is a good one. That's Jay's favorite John Travolta vehicle.
by a mile, yeah.
Know what he's great in? Spaceballs, Single White Female.
Oh, he was in Spaceballs.
What's funny is, so now we're meeting this character because we've been told this whole time that he's dying, and you get his talking head, and he's like, keeps telling everyone I'm dying. I just have really bad allergies.
Which, sympathetic I am, sir.
And you cut back, and she's like, "I told you not to come down. Get back to bed. Like, you're the boss." And it's sweet how much he worries about me.
He's not walking, he's always shuffling or dancing in every scene he's in, which is like such a funny choice where he's always
Hilarious,
just kind of like moving around a bit.
And now we're getting like this whole thing where the two of them are going back and forth some more, and it's all this whole, you know what? I don't want any drama tonight, okay? And then, well, this is my charity event. I'm the one that doesn't want any drama. ladies, can we please not do this here? I don't want any drama. And, you know, it's so on and so forth. They continue to do that. And we flash to later at the party, and everyone's gathered around while Tawny's like doing a presentation at a glass podium.
This scene right here to me is the funniest scene of the entire episode. They're just doing a weird pan across, and they hold on Antoine for a second, and he's trying so hard to make his face look like he has Botox face. And they just cut into it for like 5 seconds, and it was like the only time I like legitimately laughed out loud, like spit my drink out laughing, because he's trying so hard to look like what all these fucking crazy skeletons made of wax look like, and he does it so fucking well. I fucking lost it.
You know what I thought? It was just like a random thought that entered my head, but it was like right at this point. Is like this show kind of would have been fun if they had like a crossover with like Party Down.
Oh my god! If all of them were doing the party,
yeah, like they were the staff. Like I could see like they're like, you have so many people who are like well versed in improv on both sides. Like I think that could have like it could have really meshed.
Yeah.
So now Tony's saying like, thank you everyone for coming. I started this charity because I saw so many dogs having to walk around the streets of Orlando without any protection on their feet. But it's also personal. And then she starts like sobbing and telling everyone this sad story about a time where she lost her own heels and couldn't find them for nearly an hour. And she's like, I'm sorry, I told myself I wasn't going to cry. And her husband gets up to console her, and she's like, get back down, Phil, down.
Yeah, she treats Phil like a dog.
Yeah. So then she's telling, you know, with all of your help, each dog will receive their own pair of high heels. And for that, you can be very proud. So like, now let's all step outside so we can see my name written across the sky. And then while everyone's like kind of applying, about to move on, you see Veronica on the couch talking to Fei. She's like, please, don't you think this is rather cheap? A dog has 4 paws. You give them 1 pair of shoes. Clearly they need 2 pairs of shoes. I mean, it's tacky. And then it cuts to the talking head of Fei going, when I heard what Veronica had to say about the charity, I thought it would ruin Tawny's night. It was only right that I tell Tawny.
I know where she's going every time, and it still made me laugh, though.
I will say here, though, this is the first time where I was like, now I'm clock watching. The last 5 minutes of this show really fucking dragged
100%,
for me.
yeah.
Oh, really? This was another one where like I never really looked at the clock. I thought it kind of went by kind of quick.
Because they kept doing that, like, dramatic music cut, and, like, it, I don't know. They were just, like, forcing the crescendo, which I guess is the point, right? Like, that's what they're trying to do, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they did it too well.
I think by the time we got here, like I just had an understanding that there wasn't going to be much left. Like this was what it was all heading towards.
For me, though, it just kept dragging. The whole argument about, like, how many feet does a dog? Like, I was just like, okay, I'm fucking out of this now. Like, you've just pushed too much into this episode.
Well, yeah, well, what's happening? This is, as you said, this is like this big argument they're all having now. And it just becomes this argument amongst all of the women together now. And they're all going back and forth about, like, well, how many paws does a dog have? Is it 2 sets? And then it's like, well, are the front ones more like arms, or is it supposed to be considered 4 feet? And they're all going back and forth about it, and like ad nauseum. But you're also kind of seeing that as much as some of the like the Antons and stuff are all kind of extreme characters, these Hotwives are all kind of unique in how they talk with one another, because everyone else in the room is just watching them argue, kind of like, what the fuck's it? Like, none of them are getting involved.
Isn't that what happens on those shows, though?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, and again, that's not to say that this is not accurate to how those shows are, but if I'm watching this from a completely, I don't know if those shows are level, I'm divorcing myself. These last few minutes, I was like, just please fucking land this plane. I'm done with it. Like, the jokes are wearing thin.
There was accusations here where allegedly Shauna and her husband are going broke. So that comes up in the midst of this argument, and she's saying that's not true. That's a rumor that was spread by someone who I told that to. So, yeah, they're all arguing on, and it's just like, calm down. It's like, don't you tell me to calm down. It's like, don't you tell me to calm down, and you need to calm down. Apparently, in the world of these, like, reality shows, telling someone to calm down is the ultimate bad thing you could tell someone. They're all telling one another to calm down and how they don't need to calm down, et cetera, et cetera.
Is that, like, a real thing?
I don't know. I don't watch these.
I'm sure someone's going to be like, this is how these all end, but...
Yeah, I'm sure it is. And we get that pan across where we see Amanda just on the couch drinking on. So like her sobriety, unfortunately, only made it the 7 days. Although I think before we even see this, I think there's reason to believe she wasn't of right mind when she got to the party.
Yeah, because couldn't she not navigate the Driveways.
She couldn't make it next door. Yeah. So something was going on maybe beforehand.
The lawn was treacherous for her. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a good chance that even that 7 days wasn't exactly factual number. Basically, what was to be deemed like the end of the episode, quote unquote, like was them all arguing there.
Like, I'm going to say this right out here as somebody who was like, I'm fucking feeling a little tapped out here. When it popped up on the, like, this season, it really bummed me out. I was like, I don't want to keep going with this.
See, I thought that was great. I liked seeing this season because I thought it gave you a lot of like really fun stuff.
There's fun stuff in it, but like, it just felt dragging here.
See, I didn't get any of that. And I just think at this point, like, I don't even know because the way that they do like their upcoming from commercial breaks, I don't know if any of this stuff's actually going to happen.
Yeah, but we got Weird Al.
Yeah, we got Weird Al. There's some fun stuff. I think some of the funniest stuff in this episode, there's one scene in here where they're like, we're all going to be pimps. And it cuts to fucking them in the room. And you just see Stephen Tobolowsky dressed like a pimp with a big red hat on. And it's just in the background. And that was so fucking funny.
I thought the prostitution lessons thing was really funny. And like I said at the beginning of the episode, the, hey, baby, I want to eat your dick. I thought it was just the funniest line. And you're getting like all types of things we're going to see in this episode. There's going to be or in the season, we're going to get an intervention party that has alcohol.
Somebody tries to release a record.
There's a scene where two of them are like bonding while being grinded on like fucking doggy style by male strippers.
That was funny. That like them trying to. How hard must it be to keep a straight face while you're doing that?
Yeah, I think that's where the UCB people and stuff like that make this easier because they're used to that. You know what I mean?
Like they won't break. Yeah.
Right. Well, they will, obviously. I mean, nobody's perfect, but when it comes to stuff like this, they're more seasoned in it for sure, and which it makes it a little probably smoother going.
Well, also, like, there's going to be some wedding drama. Phil might die. Like, there's a lot of things we're getting, like, potential teases towards. And then, Gordo, you mentioned before, Weird Al. And I was like, wait, what? And he just goes,
yeah, I was
there kind of was a lot of drama. I don't know who he's supposed to play.
Is anybody else getting the feeling in the past, like, 10 or 15 years that Weird Al is just trying to keep his SAG insurance? So he'll just like pop up and do something for 2 seconds once in a while and be like, hey, it's me, Weird Al, just making the fucking insurance go for another year so that when I'm 60 I can, get fucking surgery or whatever.
Weird Al, yeah, after so many years you must get it like locked in though, right? I don't know how
I think you have to do it every year for a certain amount of years. That's why like Terry Funk did it until he stopped doing it, right? It's like,
but once you hit a certain amount, like after X amount of years, you don't like get that locked in.
No, yeah, you do, but you have to hit a certain point.
How old do you think Weird Al is?
He's probably
in his 60s?
Like, yeah, probably like 68.
No, earlier than that, probably in his early 60s, like 60 or 62.
My Bologna was 79.
1979?
Yeah, his first single, My Bologna.
That came out in 1979.
Oh. He's 65, by the way.
Okay.
So you were all in the right area. I would not have guessed that old, by the way. I would have put him maybe early 60s, probably late 50s. I don't think he was that old.
You gotta think the scale though. You gotta think like, yeah, like we were introduced like during Amish Paradise and all that. Well, not introduced, but like that was like the big album when we were kids. But he was pumping shit out since the 80s, like a lot in the 80s too. Like his real height.
Thriller was like 83, 84, and he was doing that.
So like his real height was before we even were kids. Like even though that song, like the Amish Paradise was huge for him, but
he had a resurgence.
Well, MTV gave him
MTV was like, he never would have been what he was without MTV. He would have been like a weird guy who was on Dr. Demento who sold like 50 records a year if it wasn't for music videos. Well,
especially though, if you go back to like Eat It and stuff like that, think about the attention to detail to make that video.
Oh, yeah. I mean, know who I always feel bad for? I think about this all the time because I have pretty much every 80s Weird Al record. I'm like a huge fan. And you think of some of these records, like him having to Eat It, like they get Eddie Van Halen in to do that solo on Beat It. Like the actual solo. That's why that solo fucking rips, right? Because it's Eddie Van Halen. So now you're like the guitar player in Weird Al's band, and he's like, hey, we're going to do a cover of fucking Beat It. And it's like, okay. It's like, so you have to do that Eddie Van Halen guitar solo. But like, I didn't sign up for this. We were talking about another one, Rides the Bus, 2 minutes ago, and I have to fucking play guitar like this? Are you shitting me? Like, the stress of that is fucking crazy.
It's funny. I was just listening not long, like Fall Out Boy did a cover of Beat It, but they used John Mayer did the solo.
Is John Mayer going to have a career anymore now that Phil Lesh died?
I think John Mayer was doing just fine on his own before, so he'll probably be all right.
Is he just going to carry the Grateful Dead mantle on his own, maybe?
I don't think he's going to travel around doing the Grateful Dead thing forever. I think that's one of those, I'm so rich and have accomplished so much that I can do this as like a fun thing for a little while, but I don't think he needed like their name for popularity.
John Mayer creeps me out. I don't know what it is about him.
I think John Mayer realistically could probably fill bigger venues as John Mayer than as the Grateful Dead. So
I don't know about that.
I would say today, probably more likely.
I would say so.
He did a lot of hits.
Anyways.
But yeah, anyways, John Mayer, great guitar player. Anyways, yeah. So after that, we get the post this season on, and we get the, like, they're kind of continuing on with like what would be like the post show that you see on a lot of these shows and like Bravo and stuff. And it's like the Hotwives cool down show. And that's like we're seeing during the credits. Paul Scheer is the host of that. He's playing a different, he's not playing Paul Scheer here. He's playing Maddie Green. And he's talking about, we just saw the first ep of Hotwives of Orlando. I mean, can you believe Tani told Shauna to calm down? And I don't know if it gets any crazier than that. And he's just kind of doing, stay tuned for my after show where guests Rachel Ray and Donald Rumsfeld debate whether dog paws are considered hands or feet. And we'll also play a drinking game where we find out why we really invaded Iraq. Drink when you hear the word Guantanamo, bitches. Stay tuned.
I love that because it's clearly a Paul Scheer riff, right? Like, there's no way that was written. He just fucking went on his own. He went rogue on that one. It was very funny.
And that was like the real conclusion. It was the end of the episode, then the this season on, which I feel could have been largely scripted, then this. So, triple ending. It's kind of the Lord of the Rings approach.
Towards the end, this felt like the length of Lord of the Rings, to be honest with you. That last quarter really
I can't believe it dragged like this for you. You're
It's just the last quarter.
I just didn't find it, like, I didn't really clock watch this one at all.
Well, I'll let you know when I get my green light to cancel and what I thought about this.
When I saw it first, I mean, it was like standard timing for a show. So like nothing was like that alarming. So then you kind of cut all this stuff out after it, and you figured that they dedicated a couple minutes to doing like all this post stuff. And it's a rather short episode overall when you're really thinking about it. Yeah, we've talked about this a good amount of length, and there's, to be completely honest, not a lot of information on the show out there when you go to look it up. So might as well just get into our green light or cancels. We've talked so much today. So, Joe, we'll start with you.
I kept trying to think of an analogy of how I felt about this show. And what I landed on was Nick, Jay, Gordo, and Ferg message me and say, hey, I just started a band. But I'm like, what? That fucking rules. I love you guys. I love bands. I love music. This is amazing. And you're like, yeah, it's a jazz band. And I'm like, oh, fuck, bummer. I fucking hate jazz. That's what this show is to me. It's so many people who I absolutely love doing something I don't necessarily care for, and I don't like enough or know enough or want to know enough that I want to keep watching more of it. Is it funnier than other shows? Sometimes, maybe, but like, I don't want to watch more riffs on reality shows I don't care about. Like, I just don't, this isn't something that pulls me in. It's also not a sitcom, which doesn't really matter, I guess, but when I'm thinking about it, it's people I love doing something I don't love. There's funny moments, and I think they're all great, but I'd rather watch them do other things that aren't riffing on vapid, insane people. So it's not a green light for me. Cancel.
Gordo.
So I'm actually really on the fence about this because I clock watched this almost entire episode, and this is a credit to the actors. So I'm going to shit in the show, but it's actually a credit to all of these actors, which is why I'm on the fence. This felt 100% like a show I don't want to watch, that I get instantly bored with, and that I just want to scroll through my phone while it's on in the background. It is that good as far as being true to life. And I got enough laughs out of it, and because it is so true to life as these series really are, like, I have to give it credit. Like, I have to give it the green light just because of the sheer authenticity of it. So I don't like it. It's not a thing for me. I don't know if I would actually watch a second episode, but if I'm going to play studio executive, you put this in front of me, yeah, that's going to get a green light because of how authentic it is. So credit to them. I hated it, but credit to them.
Nick.
Yeah, Joe and Gordo make really good points both ways. I agree wholeheartedly with both of them. I really agree with Gordo, but I'm actually canceling. I think they flew too close to the sun. This is, I laughed a bunch of times in this, but it's way, way, way too close to actual reality, which I personally hate. And I don't think I definitely don't. It's so weird to enjoy, or not even enjoy, but to laugh at a show and then not want to see anymore. Like, this could have been a one-off, like, long skit, which is something we've touched on before with other shows as to why they should get canceled, maybe. And I think this is a leading example for that. This I don't need multiple episodes or even a full season of these characters, even though I did enjoy it for the most part. And now I'm trying to think about it through the eyes of somebody in 2014, where this reality show series, maybe the temperature would be a little different on it. But even then, I don't know. I mean, like Gordo said, credit to the actors because they did a fucking great job. Awesome cast, good writing. It's the product itself just isn't necessary. And that's why I'm going to cancel it.
For me, I'm going with the green light. And I think when you listen to all of you guys, and I agree, I think when we look at it, as far as execution, nailed it, right? So with all that stuff in mind, and I think this is where it's tough because it's parodying a genre that we're not really into. So it's weird in that regard. But I think when I look at it, I still found parts of it funny. And I think that, if anything, the thing that makes it tough is, unfortunately, the actual genre that they're trying to parody is so fucking wild and wacky that these girls who are trying to play over-the-top characters don't feel that different from the actual characters because these actual shows are so fucking bonkers. So, with that in mind, though, you look at it and I just think, the jokes were there. I thought absolutely nailed the look and vibe, and it was funny. And I just think there's a lot of great people attached to this show. And if any of the previews for the season are things that are actually going to happen and not just fake for episode 1, I'd be curious to see where some of that goes. Not really my genre, but I just think it was not my style of show, but they didn't do anything wrong either. So it's really tough to cancel a show when they kind of check all the boxes. And I think that maybe if presented better and they did a better job of letting people know that the show existed, and maybe Joe was right, maybe the name hurt them a little bit, maybe the audience would have caught on. It just didn't have its viewers never found them. So yeah, it's a green light for me. That's going to leave us on a tie, meaning it's up to Ferg. So go to S1E1pod.com or S1E1pod on all our socials, and that's where you'll see a graphic that'll pop up later in the week that'll tell you how he scored it, which will kind of settle it one way or another. So we can't say congratulations or sorry. And I'll be completely honest with you, I have no idea where Ferg's going to go with this one. I lean towards he's going to want to cancel it, but he also likes the genre more than we do. So
I feel the same way, yeah.
So time will tell, and you can check that out again on our socials. So I want to thank all of you guys for listening. This was, again, week 2 of our Ladies of the Office month. Stay tuned. We got 2 more for you, and then eventually, somewhere down the line, we'll actually cover The Office. But again, thanks again. Go to S1E1pod.com. Follow us everywhere. Hit us up. Let us know shows you want us to cover, and buy a t-shirt, do all that shit. Like, review, subscribe, all of it. That's it. We'll catch you next week. Thank you. Goodbye.
I think we got the best Hulk Hogan divorce.